All right, everyone, welcome to our webinar on BARD Braille Audio Reading Download from the Library for the Blind Physically Handicapped. Thank you so much for doing this webinar for us. I want to remind everybody that all of our webinars are posted to our YouTube channel for later viewing, and we have other webinars coming up this month and in early June, some on learning media assessments, on UEB, and the CVI communication matrix. So you can find all of our professional developments on our TVI portal, and we'll have a link to that as well in the description. So without further ado, go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself.
Hello, everyone. This is LaShawn Miles. I am the youth librarian here at the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped.
My name is Jerry Price. I'm the Accessible Education Program Coordinator here at the library.
And today we're going to do a presentation for you all on BARD, which means Braille and Audio Reading Download. I know we have a lot of questions about this, and we want to try to make it as simple as possible for you all. So hopefully you're going to definitely enjoy it. So let's just talk a little bit about the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. I just want to, first of all, make sure I know how to advance these slides. So let me get that under my thumb real quick. So that's our contact information there. So if you need to contact us, you can definitely reach us by email. And before we go into who we are, I want to just mention that part of our presentation will be using some video presentations from YouTube, which will help you understand some of the concepts of BARD. One from Ms. Karen Kinninger and Ms. Amy Snow, who's a TDI from the Wisconsin School for the Blind and Physically Impaired. So if you don't get to see these videos, you can definitely pull them up at any time on YouTube. Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to give you a little intro about BARD. We're going to show you how to download. Then we're going to tell you how to use BARD with your NLS Talking Book Player, how to use BARD Mobile, what are some strengths of BARD compared to Overdrive, and of course we'll have questions and answers throughout the session. Okay, so if you're a member of the Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, you have access to BARD. We provide accessible materials all across the state. And we are part of the National Library Service, which is part of the Library of Congress. Now, BARD is an online service that provides thousands of books, specially formatted books, magazines, and music materials. That's one of the great things about BARD is that you can access magazines as well as books on our downloadable service. Each of our patrons have access to this application, and they can be played on multiple devices. It can be played on multiple devices, the NLS player, the BARD mobile app, and also any third-party player such as a HumanWare VictorStream. All patrons are eligible, and we're going to talk about first how you get access to BARD. So you have to register. When you become a member of ours, you don't just automatically get BARD. You have to let us know that that's something that you want, and then we can sign you up, but you can sign up at any time during your registration or your membership. So in order to do that, we're going to take you to the site where we're going to show you how to register. So I'm going to click here. Here is the actual website. It's found at nlsbard.loc.gov. And this is where you would go to basically log in. If you want to register and you haven't had the account set up prior to your when you first registered and became a member of ours, you can come to this page, and if you look down here where it says potential users, or you can locate where it says potential users, there is a highlighted part that says BARD application instructions, and there you can click and it will take you to the registration page. Now, I want to now go into how do you register. So we have a couple things we want to show you. First, we want to talk about the digital talking book player and how to download from the website. So what you're going to have when you get registered, we're going to give you a username and we're going to give you a password. And that username and password is what you will access on our site, that NLS site. You will then log in where it says email address, and please, when you register for an account, make sure you have a viable email address that you will check, because we will definitely send correspondence to you through that email. And if you ever need to reset your password, we will send you that reset through this email. So again, you would get a username and a password, and you will log into the site. Now, this is using the computer, and we'll talk about how to use a cell phone or a tablet in just a moment through the BARD mobile app. Okay. So once you get into the site, you will have access to the full collection, and you can download from the site to a flash drive. That flash drive, you can then download as many books as you want to, and then you can take that flash drive out and then plug it into your NLS Talking Book player. So on your screen, we actually have a diagram of the player, and it shows you the standard player, which has the play stop button, the rewind, fast forward, and sleep feature. On the side where you have the audio jack, there is a USB port. That is where you're going to plug in your flash drive, and therefore your player will be able to read the books that you have downloaded from our site. So how do you get the books from the site to a flash drive so that you can access it on your player? We're going to show you a video now from Miss Amy Snow, who's going to go through some of the steps of how to download. She's from Wisconsin, so you're going to see the Wisconsin Talking Book Player image on the site, but it's pretty much the same thing here in Maryland, and the steps are pretty much the same. So we're going to now take you to that video. Okay.
Okay, once you've logged in, this is the page that you're going to get. Especially if you're in Wisconsin, you're going to see this Wisconsin Talking Book and Braille Library logo at the top. There's a couple of ways that you can get to books. The first way is recently added books and magazines. That's the most recently added books and magazines, as you know, you would guess. They're compiled daily, and they are on a variety of topics. The next one is most popular books, and they'll have the most popular books in fiction and in nonfiction, the 20 most popular and most downloaded. You can also find books by searching the collection or browsing by author's last name, which you have to select a letter. So if you're looking for an author, say James Patterson, you would pick up P, you know, for his, that's his last name. If you are looking for just a word of caution, some of these are hard to wade through if you're going by letter of the alphabet. Okay, if you have somebody whose name, for example, is B-U, like Raymond Burr or something like that, you're going to click on the B's, and you're going to go through like 5 pages before you even get to the B-E's, okay, because there's a bunch of B-A's. You know what I mean, just alphabetically. So unless you can't remember the spelling of an author's name, you're probably not going to do this. You can also browse by book title, same thing. If you're looking for Wind in the Willows, for example, you'll be waiting for a while and wading through the W's. So what I usually have people do is if you have a title that you want, just type it up here. If you don't know what you want, you can select a subject. Look at all these subjects. Arabic? Yeah. Adventures, animals and wildlife are usually, adventure and animals and wildlife are usually, a lot of the titles are kid friendly and are for kids. They also have, let me see. I'm gonna just go ahead on down here.
It's still on the
Young adults.
the video.
They have,
To share video.
where's the V? They used to have one for very young readers. Anyway, they used to. But, you know, you see all of these different ones. Tall Tales is for kids. Usually, you can do short stories, anything like this. I'm guessing most kids aren't going to want Portuguese language titles, but you never do know. So all sorts of these different ones, jokes, riddles, and rhymes for juveniles. A lot of these are for kids. History, juvenile, historical books, growing up, all this stuff. You know, there's a lot of them for kids. Friendship fiction is another one that's for kids. So there's a lot of different categories that you can pick through. I'm just going to go ahead and pick friendship fiction, and I'm going to hit go. Now look at these. Oh, there's a bunch of them. It says at the top here, showing 1 through 250 of 890. Wow, that's a lot of books about friendship. Awesome. So I'm just going to pick one at random here. Absolutely Almost. You can see that the author's name is here, Lisa Graff, or this must be another name she writes under. It tells the reading time, and it says the reader. This is the reader's name. It also gives you some categories that it's under. It's under friendship fiction, growing up, school fiction, and family. And this is a synopsis of the book. It also tells you, for young kids, it gives you a grade range. It usually gives a low end and a high end of about 3 years apart. K through 2, sometimes it does grades 1 through 3, things like that. It'll give a range. And it'll sometimes say, especially if it's a newer book, what year it was published. The last thing you'll see down here, it says download Absolutely Almost. So if you want to download that book, suppose it looks like a really good book, you're going to click on it. And if you're using Internet Explorer, the pop-up you'll get is way down here on the bottom of the screen. And as you can see, it's flashing for me. It's going to ask me if I want to open it or save it. I'm going to want to save. And it's asking if I want to remember my password. And, you know, I don't think so. But so you might wonder, well, where to go? I'm going to open my my folder here, and this is my downloads right here. However you find your downloads, you'll want to do that. So I'm going to click on my downloads thing. Oh, here we go. DB right here is Guff. So what it's doing is it's still downloading. It's partial download. It's at the top here. So it's a partial download, and we're just going to wait until this is a complete download. And while that's happening, I'm going to give you another piece of advice here. If you do not know what a zipped file is a zipped file is a file that is transmitted over the internet, because if it was not a zipped file, it would be too big to go, over the internet and be able to make it from one side to the other. So what you're getting when you download from this site is a zipped file. In order to utilize the zipped file, you need to actually go and unzip it. If you are using Windows, you have a program that's automatically on your system to unzip files. In case you don't know how to do that, I'll run through it with you, but I'm just going to wait for this to download. Okay, now it's completely downloaded. So now what I'm going to do to unzip it is, now by the way, I'm using Windows 10, so this might be looking a little different for you depending on what version you're using, but for the most part, it should be the same. What I did was I right-clicked, and I'm going to go down, so like the third item, at least on my menu, it's extract all. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to give me an option. It's going to say, where do I want this, and what do I want it to be called? So I'm just going to leave it alone, and it's asked me if I want it to show me the extracted files. I really would rather that it not do that, so I'm going to uncheck the box, and I'm going to submit it here and hit extract. And as you can see, that was pretty fast. There are going to be 2 versions of this folder that have a very similar name to one another. Okay, this one is the one we just extracted. How I know this is because there is no zipper on this file. And it also says file folder in the column of type. This zipped file, it has a little zipper on it, and it says compressed or zipped folder. So this is the file down here that we want to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, whoops, I don't want to rename it. You can, by the way, name it anything you want. It doesn't matter. You can get rid of some of this and just name it the book that it's called. You could name it 1. You could name it 2. You can name it anything you want. It doesn't really matter. So suppose you want to put this on a thumb drive or another drive. What you're going to do is you're going to do a copy. So I'm going to copy it. You could also cut it, but in case of error, I usually just copy. And then you can go over to the the left-hand panel over here and look for your removable disk, which is there. Yep, here is my removable disk. And if I just put it, do a right click and paste, and there it is. Do not take the files out of this folder. You can name this folder whatever you want, but don't take the files out. Assuming that this removable drive is a USB drive, it will then plug into the side of your player. You can also put multiple books on a removable drive, as many books as the drive will hold, and the player will recognize them. It's not advisable to put music and books on the same drive. I wouldn't do that because honestly, the player sometimes becomes confused. If you want to load music to be listened to on a player, load it on a separate USB drive and insert it, but not the books at the same time. Please feel free to share or replay this video as many.
Okay, so that was the video. And now we're going to go back to our PowerPoint. Jerry, I want you to just give us some key pointers here about downloading to a flash drive. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
I want to share one thing that she didn't mention. That is, if you don't feel comfortable copying or cutting a finished folder, that one of the other options that you have is that you can right mouse click on that folder, and one of your options is going to be to send to. And so if you go down your option for send to, one of the options is going to be the name of your drive, and you can just click on that and it's going to transfer it over. So you don't necessarily have to be great at cutting and pasting to get your file over to your thumb drive. The other thing that she didn't talk about also that I guess we should talk about just a little bit is the player is going to only see one book at a time, even though the thumb drive may have multiple books on it. So built into the player is what they call bookshelf mode. So if you have multiple books on a thumb drive, you're going to have to be able to go into this bookshelf mode in order to navigate from book to book. And that is done by holding the play button down for about 5 seconds, and it will say bookshelf mode. And then you can use your left arrow, your rewind, or your right arrow, fast forward, to go arrow through the books, and then you hit play on the one that you want to listen to.
Excellent. Very good tips. You said something about the splatter method before as well.
Splatter method. Well, she did it the right way. Now, some people like to open up those folders and then transfer all those files out of that folder onto a flash drive or cartridge. And I call that the splatter method because what you do is you have all these little pieces of files all over your thumb drive or cartridge, and it's very hard to clean all that up should you ever desire to want to do that. So I don't like using the splatter method. What she did was copy the entire folder, and what I would recommend is that you do that as well.
Excellent. So now we're going to transition into using BARD Mobile. That's how we download to a flash drive to play with our NLS Talking Book Player. On the screen is our actual site once you log into BARD. And again, as Miss Amy Snow has already mentioned to us, you have your popular titles. You can search magazines as well. But we know our youth really are savvy with technology and they enjoy using their own devices. So BARD Mobile is just optimal for them. So we're going to show you a little bit about that as well. And so let me just tell you a little bit about BARD Mobile. It's an app that will allow you to download and read NLS talking books in Braille and also in audio format. And it comes directly from the NLS site, and we call this BARD. Now, it's very easy, and we're going to show you how you do it. On the screen now, I have screenshots of what the app looks like on an app, the Android app, and an iOS device, I'm sorry. So we're going to go through. Now, Miss Karen Kinninger is going to give us just a brief BARD introduction, and then we'll talk more specific after she finishes on the video. Go into a little bit about BARD Mobile.
That's done. You'll be ready to log into BARD Mobile with your BARD username and password. You'll only need to do this the first time you use the app. The app has 4 tabs or sections: Bookshelf, Get Books, Now Reading, and Settings. From the Get Books tab, you can download material from your personal BARD wish list and from the BARD recently added books and magazines list. You can also search the BARD website. When you find a title you want to read, add it to your wish list. Then you can download it from the My Wish List section of the tab. If you're using an iPhone, we recommend downloading over Wi-Fi to save data charges. Once your book is downloaded, go to the bookshelf and select your book. The Now Reading tab will open. If the item you selected is in audio format, you'll find the same basic layout you're used to on the digital talking book machine, with additional options for navigation and information. You'll find the bookmark button, the menu button, which changes navigation levels, the previous and next buttons to move through the book or magazine, the fast forward and rewind buttons for moving back and forward by seconds or minutes, and the play stop button. You'll also find controls to adjust the speed and tone. Just activate the play button and begin listening to your talking book.
One little brother is exactly like another.
If the item you selected is in Braille format, you'll find navigation controls, including the previous and next buttons, a menu button, which allows you to skip through the item by page, volume, bookmark, and line, and a bookmark button to set bookmarks. If you're using VoiceOver, listen to the prompts that are spoken each time you touch a control. They'll help you learn the various gestures to use. You can also find the BARD Mobile online user manual on your bookshelf. The manual has more in-depth help information. That concludes our overview of the BARD Mobile app. For tips and tricks on using the application, check out our online video series covering BARD Mobile.
Okay, and we have those videos for you at the end of the presentation, but there are a host of them on YouTube as well. So I just want to go back to that screen, my video, and let's go back to share so you can see my screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So one of the things I want you to remember is the bookshelf. If you have, this is the Android device. If you have the bookshelf, Get Books, and Now Reading, it looks just like our digital talking book player. But in order to download books, it's a little different than the iOS. As you can see on my left on the screen, on the iOS device, Get Books, you have to double tap that icon at the bottom of the screen. So they're all located at the bottom, whereas on the Android, they're located at the top of the screen. And this is, again, without the assistive technology. So if you're doing this with VoiceOver or TalkBack, it will be different. So Jerry, can you just give us a little tips on how to download and on BARD, or some additional information our listeners may need to know?
Sure. Well, obviously for me personally, I use the the iOS pretty much exclusively. Although I do have a Fire tablet, which uses the Android type of design. So I'm kind of familiar with both. Now, for me personally, I don't like the process of downloading a book from BARD can be a little tricky. If you go to areas for recently added and most popular, you can download those magazines and books directly to your player without going through a different step, and that step being adding it to the wish list. As you saw in the video, if you can add books to your wish list, which is great if you're searching by author or book title or something like that. It makes you go through that process in order to download them. But if you're going through recently added or most popular, then you don't have to fool with that additional step. There's a download button right next to the book, and it's fairly easy to download. You wait for that download to happen. You're going to hear a doorbell sound when the book is finished downloading, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
The obviously, if you have unlimited networking, that you can network to your phone, and you want to be able to download on the go instead of just downloading off of Wi-Fi, there is a setting under settings that will allow you to turn that on. Otherwise, it's turned off by default. So if you want to be able to download on the go, you need to go to your settings and find that under your user account settings.
That's correct. And I'm looking at the screen as well on the iOS device. I love that you can go right into Browse BARD and you can find the selections, and that you can actually specify, do you just want magazines on the screen or books? So that's great. And again, that use of Wi-Fi is important to download when you have, when you're connected to the Wi-Fi to not have those data charges. Now, I'm going to also look at how to delete books, but I'm just kind of curious, are there any questions thus far about downloading either to the flash drive or through your own device? And I don't know if I have a question screen up here. So
there is a chat feature, but I'll let you know if anybody does type it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we're going to move on now. So that's how you download. That's how you get books. And you would use the same controls as your player to actually play the book and navigate throughout it. But again, if you need additional help, there are some videos on YouTube that can assist you with that as well. And so I just want to tell you a little bit about how to delete books, because once you add those books to your device, you're going to take up your storage on whatever device you're using. So if it's your cell phone or your tablet, you're taking up your storage space. So at one point in time, you're going to have to be able to delete books. Now on the Android without the TalkBack, what we do is we basically find our bookshelf option, and then we locate in the next, once we get to bookshelf, you're going to locate audiobooks. And then you'll go to the actual list of books you have downloaded on that device. And then when you select the selection that you want to delete, you're going to have to swipe right. And when you swipe right on that selection, options will come up on the screen that says, do I want to delete this book or do I want to move this book? So you can double tap on delete and they will take that book out of your storage on your device. Now, iOS is very different. And also accessibility features are different. So again, those videos at the end will be very helpful to help you specify what device you have. There are different commands that you have to use. But just some quick tricks, Jerry, using an iOS device when deleting a book.
Well, using VoiceOver for the, so this is me using VoiceOver. You can find the book that you want to delete, and same process there. But instead of swiping to the right, you would flick up and your first option is going to be delete. Now there is another method that they still have in play on these devices, which require you to go to find the book and go through the editing. There's an edit button in the upper right-hand corner that you can press, and you can delete books that way as well. But I like the quick click and delete method myself.
Yes. So that's just deleting books. And again, I've been talking about these resources on YouTube. These are some excellent ones here that I've pulled. They're from the Library of Congress, and it tells you how to navigate an audiobook, how to transfer materials to a cartridge, how to use your voiceover function, talkback gestures for Android, and also the Braille books, because you can download Braille files to be played on a refreshable Braille display. So it tells you exactly how to do that as well, and also reading the audio book. So if any of this is a little confusing to you, definitely check out these videos from BARD. I mean, on BARD on YouTube. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some features of BARD compared to Overdrive, because there's a plethora of things out here that does a similar thing, but our service is free. And I always tell our patrons, why not have a plethora of things at your fingertips to use. Basically, that this is available to you. So Jerry's going to take us through some pointers on BARD, and then what are some things about Overdrive that you may need to know. So we're going to talk about BARD first.
And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I actually like both platforms, but I think people should be made aware of the differences between the two.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, when a book becomes available on BARD, it's available to everyone. So that's not to say it's going to be available the day that the book is released, but when it does become available, everyone will have that opportunity to go to the BARD website and download it. There's no restriction. So if 2,000 people want to download that particular title, that's fine. That's not going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a wide array of audio magazines. Now, obviously, Overdrive has some magazines as well, and it varies from state to state which magazines are going to be up there and available. But there is a rather large magazine selection in audio and Braille, so people want to look at those. The books are always in one part. If you've ever downloaded audiobooks from Overdrive, then you'll know that they're in several parts, and sometimes one of the parts may not necessarily have downloaded correctly, and you have to go into what they call the file section of Overdrive and download that part again. You can hold on to books forever. So if you have flash drives or cartridges and you want to download books and keep them, there's no limit. There's no 7-day, 14-day, 21-day limit. So that's why it is important to delete books off your device, because they're not going to disappear. They're going to stay on there until you decide that you don't want it anymore. And one of the things that's cool is that the books will play on multiple devices. So if you have a touch, an iPad, a smartphone, you can play the books on any of these devices. Now, it's not going to necessarily remember where you left off, but you can play them on those particular devices, which is fantastic. Looking at Overdrive, of course, Overdrive offers the strength of being able to play on the computer as well as on your smart device. So that's kind of cool. And but you kind of have to specify. It's not so easy to switch back and forth. When you get an ebook from Overdrive, you have an option. You can either play it on the Overdrive app, or you can send it through Kindle. And if you send it through Kindle, that means for those of us that are really love technology, that we can listen to it on our Alexa device. So that's always pretty cool, to be able to read your library book on your Alexa device. Of course, since books can be played on a computer or on a device, obviously they can be streamed or downloaded. Many libraries also have videos available, and they play on the Overdrive app.
Okay. And that's all some great features from both. So again, why not utilize them? So we're going to now take a look at the OPAC because I know when I'm searching for books, there's some, there was a little difficulties with searching through the BARD. It's a little difficult at times. But what you need to know is that through the OPAC, you can actually filter results and actually download from our BARD site directly through the online catalog. So this is it. And the best way for me to get there, it's a long address, but if you go into marylandlibraries.org and then click on the LBPH icon, you're going to get a list of different things that we have, and one of them is the catalog. So once you click there, you're going to find our website, this website, and I would bookmark it so that you'll have it. And here's the address as well if you want to know how to sign in. But I just want to show you quickly, and please let me know if I am not sharing my screen this time, because I want to make sure you see this. So if I was to go into, here we go, this is our website, and this is the icon. And then if you go right to, on your left side of the screen, library catalog, and it also has a feature to go right into BARD. And if I'm an educator and I'm looking for a list of books and I just want to quickly find what I need to download for my student, if I wanted to find a book about pigs, so I'm going to go ahead and search that really quickly. And what I love about the OPAC is right here on the left-hand side, you can filter the results so that you're getting exactly what you need so you can get to it quickly. So again, if I just want digital books here, I can also specify if I want to download it from BARD or do I want to have it sent to myself or the student. That's a hard copy. So a hard copy is something a book we physically have in our facility that we can send to you or to the student. So if it says downloadable only, that means it can only come from BARD and you have to download it to a flash drive, or you're going to have to download it through your device to get that. You can even filter the language and the subjects and the reading level. So let's just say I want to find downloadable books from BARD. I want them only in Spanish. And then I can go in and I can say, oh, I only want juvenile books.
Hey, real quick, we're still looking at your PowerPoint. You have to share it.
Oh, no, I did not share this. Okay, one moment. Did I share it this time? Can you see the LB? Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to repeat those steps really quickly because that's really important. So again, quick search pig. I'm going to go for a digital book, downloadable only, in Spanish. I only want juvenile books. And again, you see that we have a 1K through 3 book and 1 3 through 6. So it has the titles there, and there's a Charlotte's Web and another book called I Like Me by Nancy Carlson. And then when you click right here, if you're logged into our site, or if you have a BARD account, so when I click here, it's going to ask me for my username and password. And each of you have a username or password that you can use to access the site. Once you're logged in, you can automatically download from BARD and it will not be an issue. So that's another way to get to the results quickly. I want to see if this one would take us. So this is going to take me to my BARD. And as you can see, as soon as I go in, that book is going to start download. If you look on the lower left-hand corner, you will see that book is starting to download for me. So that is a great feature to use, that catalog, to help filter the results. And also, all TBIs, they have access to BARD. Many districts have what we call an institutional account. So that means that either the school or the district has access to our services. And some TBIs have an account set up for just their particular school, and they're in charge of the account. And teachers who actually service students with visual impairments in that particular school can use that account information to go into BARD as well to download books. Remember though, this is a federal service, so it is restricted to only eligible readers, but all teachers in that school that have a student with a visual impairment, if the TVI sets that account up, they can access BARD as well and download for their students. Okay, so that is the OPAC. So I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint, and we're going to just go through any additional questions and answers. But I know, Jerry, you just had a few more things you wanted to tell us about the display settings on our devices.
Yeah, I would tell you that there are some personal preferences that you can put when you're using the BARD mobile app. One is you can go into display, and you can change the way the player looks as far as the background colors go. You can invert it, and some people, with low vision, prefer it that way because it is a little bit easier on the eyes. And there's also a bunch of auto lock features that you can employ if you want, while you're reading the book or while you're downloading a book. If you want your phone to automatic, still download when it's locked up. Those kinds of things. So one other thing I also want to mention is that there is a rolling calendar when you're downloading books that you're only allowed 100 books in 30 days. And it's a rolling calendar. So if you downloaded 99 books today and you try to download 2 tomorrow, it's only going to let you have 1 of them. So just something to keep in mind.
Also, if you should ever need to reset your password, remember I told you that email address that you provide, we will send you a temporary password. But one thing to remember, the first time you go in to reset that password, you must use a browser. You cannot use the app itself. So you would need to go through a website and then reset the password to a chosen password of your choosing, and then you can start using the app again to access. So again, just making sure we have a current email address to reset that for you is so very important. So are there any questions that we can provide answers to? Hopefully you've gotten a lot out of this presentation, and I do want to put that slide back up again for those resources just in case. But are there any questions?
If you can't think of one now, you can certainly email us and we'll be happy to answer them as well.
That is correct. And our library has a reference desk, which is open. It's actually from 9 to 4 every day. And we're open every second Saturday of the month from 10 to 2. And again, if you want our contact information, let me just go back to that first slide so I can show you how to get in contact with us about any questions you may have. Anything about the presentation or how we can easily help you, you or your child or a student to access our material. There is our contact information once again. Okay, so that's the end of our BARD presentation. And we definitely enjoyed having you. Thank you, and I hope that you've learned a lot today.